Welcome to that NBA podcast. I'm here with my co-host George Denny, and this is our first ever episode.
Absolutely.
What we are here to do is talk about our beloved NBA. We're going to debate, talk about what we love, and more importantly, what we hate.
Well, there's a lot of that to go around. Particularly when we got the Lakers with a good team out west.
Speaking of the Lakers, we'll just start off with the biggest story of the summer. Before he was traded, and afterward, and how it changed the landscape of the NBA, and that is the Dwight Howard situation. So, first, George, what's your take on what Orlando got for giving away the league's best center?
Well, I'm the kind of guy who likes to see a long rebuilding process that leads to a dynasty. In fact, I shouldn't say a long rebuilding process because no one wants to rebuild forever, but what you want to do is to make sure that when you rebuild, you get enough assets to push your winning curve far into the future.
Do you think they did that?
Well, when you look at the offer that they took, you got these conditional picks flying left and right. We don't really know, Craig, what you're going to get back from Denver, their first round, from Philly. They're actually looking kind of exciting.
Philly looks good.
The Lakers, that's not going to be a very good first rounder now, is it?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely. And so when you look at the Nets package, now we can lay aside the Brook Lopez, the Chris Humphreys, Marshawn Brooks. Those are all kind of nice assets. Yes. They don't really help you bottom out. What you do also get, though, is those 4 first-round draft picks. And when I look at the Nets, I see Joe Johnson, a fat 4-year contract, Darren Williams, who I love Darren Williams as a player.
I love him to death.
I love him as a man.
You were about to speak ill of him.
I know. I wasn't going to do that. I know you're both Texas guys, so I wasn't going to say that. But he's 29 years old, and he's good for about 65 games a year. I mean, this is not a guy who is a come in, come out superstar. I mean,
man,
now,
so I take
when
it you're not
plays,
gonna be high on the Nets.
Well,
we'll break into that later.
I'm sure we'll get to the East later. But so what I'm saying is, I kind of think the Nets this year are about as good as they're going to be with the Darren Williams, Joe Johnson kind of core. This team is not going to age well. And when you think about 4 first-round picks spread over 7 years, I'm telling you, Craig, I think 2 of those picks are going to be damn valuable. Oh. You've got Joe Johnson's fat contract, which you're going to be paying, as well as Darren, as well as Brook Lopez. Well, he would have been going to the Magic in this dream scenario. So what I'm saying is, the Dwight package that they got back, now Aaron Aflalo, he's a decent piece.
He's a stat lovers guy.
Stat lovers guy also plays a position, shooting guard, which when we were growing up was totally stacked, and right now is kind of thin.
Under 30, we don't have anything.
Well, there you go. So that's kind of nice. You've taken care of your 2, but you really haven't essentially gotten these picks which are going to extend your winning curve a couple years down the road. The Magic, whatever franchise player they're going to get, they're going to have to lose for themselves.
Yes, they are. So do you forgive the GM for this mistake that he's made? I mean, it was his first big move. I mean, who knows how we would have handled it? We weren't in his shoes. Other GMs have done far worse. I'm sure one day we'll break out the worst, and I'm sure Isaiah Thomas will probably be at the top of the line of that.
I can't wait to do.
But we forgive everybody. Everybody gets a mistake. I mean, can we forgive him for this?
Well,
or does it depend on how they do in the future?
Hennigan got a couple of pieces, right? He also got a couple of first-round picks, and the best thing I think that he did is that he made sure the Magic are going to be terrible next year. Yeah. They got rid of Dwight, and they're going to bottom out. So you got to imagine that they're going to get a top 5 pick, whereas if they went with that Nets package, if they went with a lot of the other packages that they were considering, they were getting better players, which is actually worse for them in the long term because, as we both know, as any real NBA guy knows, you want to be one of the 5 best or the 5 worst. Otherwise, you're in the no man's land of the middle 20.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more there. Now, let's talk about who actually got Dwight Howard, who got Superman. Now, why do you think Dwight chose LA? What's the biggest reason you believe, the biggest factor in him choosing the City of Angels?
I don't think Dwight has chosen Los Angeles yet. At least
no.
as
do you hope not? As a Boston guy,
I have to say Dwight. I think he might love it. L.A., we've both lived there.
Yes,
great women, fantastic weather.
Yes,
if you're working hours that don't necessarily force you to drive downtown in the middle of traffic, right? You get to the game around noon. You probably leave at, after the game at 10 o'clock. Yeah. You're basically avoiding the worst part about Los Angeles. So it's entirely feasible to me Dwight does resign. But I think right now he doesn't really know what he's doing. The really scary part of it is that with Dwight Howard and Steve Nash, obviously, Kobe and Powell still there, the Lakers are just terrifying. They're terrifying.
Yes.
The Lakers are immediately on the heat.
And what's
level.
funny is this always seems to be the case. Do you think this will always be the case? The Lakers always seem to get their man. I mean, every 3 out of 5 years that we've lived so far, they've been a top 3 team going into the season. People thinking they're going to win the title. Will it always be like this? I think it will.
The Lakers do what they're supposed to do in a market that basketball players want to play in. Now, Los Angeles is not the only market like that.
No.
If the Knicks were run properly,
yes.
If the Knicks didn't have such an absolute necessity to burn that cap room, they've been leading on their fans for years heading into the summer of LeBron, and they absolutely had to spend some money. So, hey, Amari, $100 million, how do you like that? Mm-hmm. You also have other markets that could be the Los Angeles Lakers, but no one can match their pedigree.
And exactly, and that's why I hate when people say, "Oh, the Lakers just have they're just a vacation destination, or they just have deep pockets." Other teams have deep pockets. In 2011, Forbes had the Knicks as the most valuable franchise in the league, so they have even deeper pockets than the Lakers. At least they did then, and they haven't. They remind me of the rich kid who didn't take advantage of all the privileges that he was given in life. And you have to give the Lakers that credit, that they, as a rich kid, if we're staying with this analogy, took advantage of the private schooling. All they did was take advantage of the resources that they had in front of them. And for that, we do have to give them credit. Mm-hmm.
Well, then, Craig, let's say you're a superstar athlete. What are and you already have all the money you could ever want. Mm-hmm. What are your most deciding factors? Why is it L.A. or New York?
Oh man, because that's America. If I'm looking at a globe that's small enough to just have 2 dots on it representing this country that we live in, the good old U.S. of A., it is a great chance that those 2 dots are just New York and Los Angeles. It seems like that's just. It matters most to my brand if I'm a good player to be in one of those 2 markets.
Fame and media.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, women too, but fame and media is pretty good. Exactly. And I don't know where Dwight was ever going to find that in Orlando.
So in saying that, now the flip side to this is how do the small market teams compete with that being the case? What does this say in a bigger picture? What does this say about our CBA? It was supposed to fix this. Right out of the gate, we have Chris Paul being traded last year, and now Dwight being shipped off to Los Angeles as well.
Well, I mean, I think the CBA was represented exactly in the way David Stern managed the Hornets for the year that he was running the ship.
What do you mean by that?
He wanted to bottom out. You've got to absolutely be terrible because you need a franchise guy. You don't want the 4th or the 5th or the 10th best player in a draft. You want your absolute flagship. And it's hard to get that. Now, obviously, if you're a small market team, you may run into the problem of retaining this guy. But it doesn't change the fundamental fact that in order to compete in the NBA, you need to absolutely bottom out. Hopefully you can do what Orlando did, add a few first-round picks. So, I would argue you want to have longer years of first-rounders, more first-rounders, and obviously you want to bet that you can get someone else's high lottery pick.
And I would agree with you.
You also look at the ways that lottery picks have been tossed around. You remember Eddie Curry goes from the Bulls to the Knicks, and the Knicks hand over all these picks. They wound up giving they give up the second pick, the Tyrese Thomas pick that wound up getting moved around. Chicago worked with all of these assets, and now they're a contender.
Yeah,
and, it didn't help, or it didn't hurt, I should say, that their 9th best lottery odds went for the number 1 pick in Derrick Rose. That also helps. A little luck goes a long way in the NBA.
Luck goes a long way.
But that's what you got to do. You got to suck to make it rich.
So I guess you agree with me when saying that my beloved Rockets, being from Houston, you believe they did the right thing this summer by pushing all their chips to the middle. I did, because you can't be the worst team. And I think, the year before they said, you know what, we're going to go after Bosh. Did that. Then this year they saw and they was like, you know what, we didn't do enough to go after Bosh. Let's completely clear the decks this time when we try for Dwight. And they did that. They pushed him all the middle, and I think they're better for it. They will be bad this year, and I'm looking forward to having a top 3 or 4 pick for my hometown team next year.
Well, that might happen. I think it's hard for me to insult Daryl Morey because I have so much respect for him. I've heard him speak a few times. He's such a smart guy, and he's trying to create that whole analytical science.
The Boston connection.
He certainly has his Boston connections, how he came up through, Celtics organization. But the problem with Daryl Morey, and he'd be the first to say it if he was on the radio, is that he's been stuck in no man's land. Yeah. I mean, absolute no man's land. Yeah. Nothing is worse than 40 wins a year.
Oh, man. Atlanta will attest to that.
And, that's, Atlanta's been kind of stuck on the 50-win level.
Which is just as bad. I don't think it's being stuck at 9th is just as bad as being stuck in 5th or 6th. I don't think there's much difference between selecting 13th, 11th, 12th, or 13th, and selecting 19th or 20th in a draft. It's the same. So you get to play 2 weeks longer. It's the only difference.
Yeah, as a fan, you want to matter. This isn't the NFL where there's a whole lot of parity. We both know there's 5 teams maybe that could win it, and it's probably going to be the Thunder or the Lakers or the Heat. That is the inside circle. Yeah, it truly is.
Really, really, really is. Now, let's talk about the teams that made a splash. Just we'll dissect every one probably next week when we go through and pick our teams for the year. But let's just touch on a few teams. And seeing as though it was the summer of LeBron, it'd be appropriate to start right down there in Miami. And I personally like what Miami did, adding some shooters. I don't know what they're gonna get from Ray Lewis. I'm in my football mode here, but from Rashard Lewis. But I do like what they added in Ray Allen. And I know that's a touchy subject with you, so what's your take on
Craig,
them adding Ray on the floor? I want your take on them adding Ray on the floor and what the drama between them getting Ray.
Well, not only did they get Ray Allen, but they convinced him to take less, to leave Boston for the wonderful sunny South Florida confines that, Boston just can't match. Now, Ray actually was very happy in Boston. There were some things on the court that didn't work out for him so much, some issues with minutes, and obviously Danny Ainge loves Avery Bradley, which kind of jeopardized Ray's role in the starting lineup. And for a surefire Hall of Famer, I think that was kind of a cut to the ego. But
and don't forget they were bringing in Terry no matter what.
That's true. They already had him locked down when they were negotiating with Ray. Exactly. So maybe it makes basketball sense, but if you think about it, Ray Allen's skill doesn't really age. The guy shoots jumpers at about a lightning fast pace. I don't know if anyone has a quicker release in the entire league, and he's absolutely deadly.
I mean, either. There's no notion that he's getting so old that they won't be able to run him off these double stagger screens. I just don't believe it. I'm watching a little preseason ball, and LeBron's just been able to look away, and his release is so quick that he can just still fire. Like, he doesn't need those screens necessarily.
It kills me. And who creates more space than LeBron James?
Exactly.
I mean, LeBron blowing
just by
through
being
the lane, just hang outside, Ray. I'll get it to you when I need to.
Yeah.
It terrifies me. So you also brought up Rashard Lewis, another quick release, another guy, he's also shooting at 6'10", 6'11". I can't imagine what his release point's maybe 8 feet.
Yeah.
But
I'm questioning that move, but I'm excited to see how it'll pan out.
Well, I question Rashard Lewis's heart more than I would ever question Ray Allen, but certainly around all those Hall of Famers, maybe Rashard gets it together. I'm worried about the Heat out east. No problem. No def.
Now his all-star teammate, his Olympic teammate, Carmelo Anthony, had a fine summer, bringing home a gold alongside of him. And the Knicks also made a splash this summer, signing everybody that should be in a geriatrics unit somewhere. What do you think about the Knicks? That's what's exciting about this NBA
Craig,
season.
I'm glad you asked, because I've been singing too many praises up here, and I'm glad that I can just drop trow and talk about the Knicks, because I hate this team. I'm so glad that the Knicks are in the Atlantic and that they spend all this money in the wrong places.
Oh, man.
Ray Felton, the guy is out of shape. You could question his heart. Jason Kidd, I have a ton of respect for, but what is he, 40, 41?
41, I
okay,
think.
41.
41 come playoff time.
Coming off the bench as well. He hasn't shot 40% from the field in years. and Carmelo Anthony, here's a guy. Everyone talks about how talented he is, and he is incredibly talented. But winning or holding the record for the Olympic athlete to score the most points in the game, eclipsing, surefire Hall of Famer Stephen Marbury's record. I mean, that's not a record you want to own.
It's not.
And I'm glad that the Knicks are led by a ball-hogging, no-heart, overpaid guy like Carmelo Anthony, who will never stack up. Never stack up.
For the most part, I agree with you. But in Melo's defense, I do believe, I have to admit, I think he's about to have the best season of his career. I think statistically, Melo coming off of playing with such great players, they usually have great years when they come out of playing in international play. And I think he's prime to have a great year. I don't think it'll result in anything. I think it'll result in another first-round exit. But the Knicks, it's like the season's changing. It represents the season changing when the Knicks come to when you talk about the Knicks in the start of the season, because you already know what's going to happen. The Knicks are going to lead off SportsCenter the first time they win 3 games in a row. and everyone gets excited. And then we all remember around March that they're the Knicks, and they actually suck. Then we get a little more excited in May and think they can upset somebody in the first round. Then they get swept out. It's fun. I'm looking forward to the start of the NBA season.
And let me throw this dagger in there.
The Knicks.
Amari Stoudemire's got 3 years left on his contract at more than $60 million.
60.
That is an albatross contract.
What's hilarious is he probably only has about a year and a half left in that knee.
Oh, if that. I mean, his knee, he had a formerly detached retina. I actually like Amari Stoudemire as a person. Carmelo Anthony, I just personally, I don't see the winning instinct in him. But when Amari goes down, that team is looking at some really troubling situations, because it's not like Tyson Chandler is going to pick up the scoring load.
No.
Craig, who's scoring on this team other than Carmelo?
I think Novak is going to actually... It's sad when you say that a guy with one skill, albeit a very good one, is going to be a key to this team. Like, when they brought in Rasheed Wallace, I was like, oh, my goodness. He's as old as Kidd, or at least his body is. And I'm worried about how they're going to score, too. Especially with Shumpert not playing for a couple of months. Oh,
Sheed, one of my all-time favorites. That guy is all heart. And NBA players, they love Sheed. Like,
I know you Boston guys love Sheed. You've been touching on all your Boston guys.
I mean, he didn't exactly light it up for the Celtics in his time there, but he was, he was a guy that motivated his teammates. So if you want to get the most out of Carmelo, maybe Sheed is a way to do it. But... you also need some insurance for Amari, so that's what he provides.
Oh, man. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out this season. Now, what about the guys just across the way, just upstate, up in Brooklyn?
Okay.
What do you think about the transactions and all the moves that they made this year? Darren Williams on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Well, Billy King, much maligned in his tenure in the 76ers, a favored punching bag of Bill Simmons. I would have to say he kind of showed up this summer. He did what he had to do. And if you think that Joe Johnson's overpaid, we also have to realize that he was looking at losing Joe Johnson. Darren Williams. Without Joe Johnson, there is no Darren Williams. And suddenly you got a nice little core. I like Marshawn Brooks.
I love Marshawn Brooks.
I mean,
I think we're mispronouncing his first name, so it may not sound like we love him, but we love Mr. Brooks.
Yeah, we love that guy. I mean, and Brook Lopez. Now, this guy's soft. He's got some heart issues. There's something problematic when you got a 7-footer who's getting less than 7 rebounds a game.
Yeah.
He does somewhat protect the rim, but at least he's one of like 3 NBA centers who can drop 20 a night. Yeah. 20 a night, right there, Craig.
I believe that they're going to be able to score. I like the fact that they have Gerald Wallace. Anytime you have a guy like Gerald Wallace, you got a glue guy. He's older, not going to be quite as productive as he once was, but I like the fact that with Darren, and Joe Johnson, all of them being big for their position. They can do a lot of switching, and they won't play the best defense, but I think they'll do enough to get by, and I think they'll score a lot. I'm really excited about what they have in Brooklyn.
You're totally right. Now, they do have a thin bench. They have, however, probably the fourth best starting lineup in the league.
Probably so.
If you look at, Chris
so. Especially when
Humphries,
you step back and you stop thinking about the money. Everyone talks about the money.
Provorov's having
what
to
they
pay,
have on the floor.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that they have something there. Now, also not too far from the two teams we just talked about are your beloved Boston Celtics, and I believe that out east they probably made the next most amount of headlines. So what do you think about the moves that your hometown team made?
Well, I kind of love the Celtics, and what their strategy is that we're going to be a contender, and if the Heat stumble, if there's some injuries at the top, the Celtics are going to be right there to pounce. Now, we need some young bodies. Now, Fab Melo is a 7-footer who's completely raw, but he can at least spell somebody for 10, maybe even 20 minutes a night in his rookie season.
He'll do a lot more than Ryan Hollins was doing last year.
We just ran out a bunch of stiffs. The Celtics, oh my God, are we thin inside? I mean, and personally, KG has done great at the 5. Mm-hmm. I worry about that over an 82-game season plus playoffs. But I also love Jason Terry. Avery Bradley.
I absolutely love Jason.
Jason Terry is, other than his assist to turnover ratio, one of the most valuable players in the league.
Yes, and that egregious tattoo that he put on his arm of that 2011 trophy they won down in Dallas. I think that's absurd. But you didn't mention one of my favorite guys, former Rocket and former Orlando Magic, Courtney Lee. He's going to be starting in Avery Bradley's spot, and I think it's pretty much assumed that Avery's going to regain his starting spot when he gets back. But I think Courtney will probably play well enough to where that'll be tough. Courtney's an ideal 2 next to Rondo in that he can run, he can defend larger players, smaller ones. I really like Courtney Lee.
And really what you're getting at, Craig, Celtics have incredible depth. We can lose a couple guys, and we're still going to be right there contending.
We hadn't mentioned Jeff Green. Yeah,
Jeff Green, who knows what we're getting from him. Now, I think that contract, it's a pretty generous contract that Jeff Green got. He is.
Something smells fishy there.
Well, it seems like a lot. 4 years. I mean, the guy didn't play last year, but the Celtics are definitely deep. We're definitely going to need Jeff Green to succeed Paul Pierce after Paul's done.
Oh, man. First, that's a large step. To me, first he has to prove that he's good. I am not. I was the first person when there was a quote-unquote big 3 when Green, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin were down there when they were younger, and they were like, oh, there's no way they'll be able to keep all 3. And it's hard to think about it now, but some people were like, oh, well, when we have to trade one, we'll get rid of Russell. I have always been on the get rid of Jeff Green bandwagon. I'm still on it, even though it probably doesn't need to be driven right now. But I don't like Jeff Green. But we'll get to see.
Well, I will say this about Jeff Green.
Succeeding Paul Pierce seems like a stretch.
It is perhaps no other player in the NBA that can guard LeBron like Jeff Green. At least the way his body.
Why? Because the way his body is built.
He lines up. He's quick.
I was about to say not based on anything he's ever done.
The best rationale I can give you for why he's there at that $34 million for 4 is because of LeBron. Yeah. We need someone to throw on LeBron.
LeBron and Carmelo.
That's
potentially.
true.
Although if you get past the first round, you won't be staring Carmelo in the face in all likelihood.
That's probably right.
But yeah, at least Carmelo and even Joe Johnson, and
it's not gonna be Paul Pierce. Paul's slowing down. I'm sorry, Craig. I don't think you want to throw Paul out on LeBron all playoffs.
I don't know if he's the truth. He's still true in spots, but he isn't. He isn't the truth. Now there really was only one team out west that made a splash worth mentioning whatsoever. We all know that's LA, and as a Laker fan, I gotta tell you, I'm excited.
Craig,
I think we have 4 of the top 20 players on the same team right now.
Well, tell me how do you line up next to the Thunder? I mean, the Thunder's got a good squad.
I think that they're too small. Their best lineup was when they went small last year, and seeing as though we could, with Dwight's athleticism, we can still keep him on the floor in those spots. They're going to have a tough time guarding us. They're too big. I think the Gasol and Dwight will be able to play volleyball on the offensive boards. I worry about our defense on the perimeter, but Kobe and Nash may be old, and Artest may be slow of foot, although I heard he showed up in shape to training camp, but that's always said in certain circles. But
okay.
but last thing before you go off here, I just think that if Quentin Richardson, Jameer Nelson, and Turgaloo and Rashard Lewis could hide in front of Dwight and be a top 5 defense, I think that Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol, and Ron Artest should be able to manage and will still have a good defense, and they'll score so easily. They should be the most efficient scoring team in the league.
Dwight is certainly the defensive front man for this team. Now, they need Dwight back there, and the reason is because, as much as I love him, much as I have respect for him, Steve Nash is probably the worst on-ball defending starting point guard in the league.
Yeah.
And when he goes up against Russell Westbrook, to me, is in a class with him and Rondo, and that's it. Those are the hardest 2 guys in the entire league to stay in front of. Russell Westbrook is going to blow by Steve Nash whenever he wants to. Now, maybe you slide Kobe over. Maybe you have some crazy defensive adjustment.
It's okay. The Lakers throughout their history have never been able to guard these quick point guards. It's something that they just concede. I guess it has something to do with that point guard position never really having the impact at the championship level.
Certainly in the triangle,
in the
that's
NBA's
true.
history. Yeah, like even when the Lakers were winning championships with Magic, Kevin Johnson used to run all over. Even the Rockets, John Lucas used to have his days against Magic. I think we can get by with having a bad defender at the one, because we always have.
I mean, the Lakers, that's why they like playing us Celtics. It's because they don't actually have to guard Rajon Rondo up top.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about him blowing by you because they're not even going to pick you up until the free throw line.
Now, this isn't a proclamation of a podcast where we're projecting or anything, but I don't think that'll be the case this year. I think Rondo has a jump shot. From what I've been hearing, reading,
I hope so.
I think I think it's always been there, but I think he'll be taking it and making it this year.
That would be nice for us all. But one more note about Thunder Lakers. Dwight Howard does not like Kendrick Perkins. If there is one guy to beat on you for 6 fouls a game, one guy to just screw you up down low, Kendrick Perkins is that guy. Now there's nothing sexy about Kendrick Perkins. The guy he just looks clumsy. He looks like it takes so much energy just to lift his leg. But that guy is going to beat on Dwight, and Dwight certainly doesn't like playing him.
No, and Kendrick was probably the only person affiliated with the 15 Western Conference teams happy to see Dwight come out west, because the way he played, I know the Thunder weren't too excited with the way he played last year, and a lot of people have been whispering about him possibly being amnestied to clear room for them to sign James Harden. But now that he's now that Dwight is out west, Kendrick has a purpose for being on the Thunder roster again, and it gives him the opportunity to have a bounce back year. And so hopefully we can re-see the Kendrick Perkins that we've grew to love.
And hopefully for 82 games plus playoffs. That would also be nice to see from Kendrick.
All right, that'll pretty much wrap it up here. And next time, we're going to have a special show for you.
Absolutely. Craig and I, in preparation for the upcoming season, are going to put our heads together and draft out the league. We're each going to have 8 teams going in a 1-4-2-3 format. You're basically going to see exactly what Craig and I think. And as we go along the season, I'm sure there's going to be a ton of smack talk between us about who's winning and who's not.
Until then, this is Craig. He's George, and we are signing off.
Peace off.